This year we've seen an avalanche of allegations and criticisms around the toxic culture here at Parliament House. And as a result, there's been a focus like never before on women's safety and security, a focus that will be sharpened further when the Treasurer delivers this week's budget.
Justice! Now!
We know what your priorities are, but in terms of this budget, will there be a focus on women? How will you try and say to the Australian people, you get it?
Well, yes, there is. There is a standalone substantial women's budget statement. You'd have to go back to the 1990s to find an equivalent document. And it not only details the economic impact of COVID on women, but also the details around the individual measures in women's economic security, women's safety, as well as women's health.
In among the economic data will be a 50-plus page statement focused on women, with fresh funding for the more than 830,000 or 11% of Australian women and girls with endometriosis, and more support to reduce premature births, impacting around 8% of births each year. The government's new Women's Security Task Force in particular, probing financial security in the wake of the pandemic.
Women's safety has been a key priority for the Morrison government. We've already announced substantial funding. There'll be more in the budget with a series of targeted measures. But to know that 1 in 4 Australian women suffer violence at the hands of a partner or a former partner is just heartbreaking. It's not good enough. Things need to change, and obviously the initiatives that were put in place in the budget will help do that.
Now, as I mentioned, we've seen you obviously happily married, 2 wonderful kids. Do you feel a bit of an added burden on your shoulders, as in, you know, you're the clean skin, one of the clean skins in the government in terms of how you respond to all of this?
Well, it's not about me, Kieran. It's about outcomes. Outcomes for Australian women, but also for Australian families.
And for his wife, Amy Frydenberg, herself a workplace lawyer, Canberra's cultural issues are all too familiar, but not, she says, by any means constrained to the capital.
It certainly is concerning, but as you say, in my job, I see that a lot. So I know that these issues are not peculiar to Parliament House, and they're cultural issues that we really need to address as a society.
Another measure in this week's budget is the $1.7 billion boost for childcare. Josh Frydenberg knows the issue is biting, but he faces the challenge of convincing some traditional Conservative voters who disagree with growing subsidies. One area where there's no disagreement, certainly within the Liberal Party, is when it comes to the level of Josh Frydenberg's own personal ambition.
Amid the last divisive decade of Liberal leadership, Josh Frydenberg remained largely loyal to those he served under, supporting Tony Abbott against Malcolm Turnbull, before backing Turnbull against Peter Dutton 3 years on. He supported Scott Morrison in the spill and overwhelmingly won the deputy leadership against Stephen Chobo and Greg Hunt.
I've worked with Josh for many years. We didn't run as a ticket today. That's not how it should be, in our view. We knew that each of us needed to seek a mandate in our own right to heal our party, to bring our nation together and go forward.
It's a record mostly unblemished by the bad blood of that Canberra chaos, and following his pandemic performance, many see him as the next in line for the top job. And while his supporters don't doubt he'd be ready when the time comes, are his loved ones as prepared?
When you look at the career that your husband has, do you ever think about what might be next? Because if the planets align, obviously he'd be in the top line of betting for the next Prime Minister. If that happens, how would you manage that?
Look, I just manage day by day and take every day as it comes. He's got such a big job to do now, and that's really all we're focused on as a family.
And do you think that that helps him in terms of dealing with the challenges that he does take that approach as well, day by day? He's able to engage with people in the street, in the cabinet.
Yeah, I mean, Josh is very much in the moment, and as you would see by the way he performs and the way he interacts with people, as you saw down the street today, he understands the issues of today, and that's what he's focused on.
That drive and the potential possibilities when it comes to the Prime Ministership recognised early on in his career when he worked as a senior advisor to John Howard.
Oh, I thought Josh was, of course, ambitious to get into politics at some stage, and I certainly didn't decry that. I was ambitious about politics at Josh's age. I thought he could do very well, and it didn't surprise me that he became deputy leader and treasurer at a fairly early stage of his career. And I think he's justified the loyalty and support of people that extended it, and the partnership between Josh Frydenberg and Scott Morrison has been absolutely integral to this government's success.
That success doesn't come without a relentless work ethic and many, many interruptions, even when on holidays.
Every summer he tells me he's taking time off, and he'll leave the phone in the house, and if any emergencies, Amy, take your phone, they'll call you. And I'm yet to have a summer where he doesn't work, so we'll keep that in the pocket maybe next year.
But when he is home, he tries to make up for lost time.
He's definitely the biggest kid in the house. So when he's home, I have 3 children, but they just love it. He comes home, he's always loud, comes with presents, rolling around on the floor, giving them piggyback rides, and it's just pure joy when he's home.
Like so many politicians' kids, it's hard when he has to say goodbye so often. And with an election around the corner and no guarantee against further pandemic setbacks, there'll be many more goodbyes to come.
Well, that's where I'd always rather be, at home with the kids rather than at the desk at work. Although the kitchen table's often been the desk through the course of the last couple of years, but I couldn't do what I do, just like so many other people couldn't do what they do without the support at home, and Amy's been a superstar. My kids are my life. I do what I do because I want Australia to be a better place for them. They are the lens through which I see the world, and they're everything to me, and they're going to come up for budget night, which is going to be very exciting. I can't wait to see them. Keeping them quiet for 30 minutes as I speak is going to be a task in itself. I'm hoping Tony Smith, shows a bit of restraint there, but it's a very special time for families, obviously, to get together here in Canberra when we do, because for politicians, whatever side of the political fence they sit, these jobs are trying, and there's been no more trying time than the last 12 months.
Treasurer Josh Frydenberg, thank you very much. A big week. I appreciate the time. Thanks.
Thanks, Kieran.